Hey, what's up guys? Rev here. So today we're going to look at a couple of different stories. Now I've been noticing with some recent videos, we have a nice system where we're tying together multiple different stories from all across the internet and tying them together with one theme. Today's theme is a doozy. You know what it is? Discrimination. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be looking at some various discrimination-related controversies involving some companies. So without further ado, let's jump into the main story for today, which involves Opera GX, which is of course a alternative browsing source that has been really making the push to compete with other ones like Firefox and Google Chrome. And if you don't know their Twitter account, they are kind of like a Wendy's knockoff. They try to be like snarky and little meme lords in the replies to tweets. But you know what? They're creating quite the impression, and now they are coming out with their own VTuber mascot named Aura. Now it'll be coming soon, and they are holding open auditions to play this role, which is pretty interesting. We've seen some corporate VTuber mascots before, and really the issue is like, how much are they going to push this? Like, will it have any sort of a significant role? Is it just gonna be a little promotional tool, or is it going to be an actual like regular streamer? Who knows? But there has been some controversy involving the application process, which we're going to look at now. So some people, as they were applying, noticed a little caveat in their questionnaire saying, "What's your age?" And their little template says, "We are looking for someone between 20 to 30 years of age." So people like this in their 30s are kind of left out to dry. Now, of course, Opera, in their true meme lord spirit, replied with this, which I believe is a joke, saying try applying for a retirement home, implying that anyone over 30 is ancient dust at this point, which is very hurtful and mean. But nonetheless, a lot of people were really angry about this. And one of the things that they claimed was that this age range statement actually broke the law, which I've been noticing recently. Like, Twitter users are really enjoying playing legal eagle and trying to make claims about various laws. So I'm seeing people in replies to this and also just taking screenshots of this and saying that this violates this law. And like, people are citing Canadian law or US law, which really isn't relevant when Opera GX is a Norwegian-based company. And from my research, I actually found the related statements. So here's what you need to know. In this one, Section 6 saying discrimination on the basis of gender, pregnancy, leave in connection with childbirth or adoption, care, responsibilities, ethnicity, religion, belief, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, age, or a combination of the factors is prohibited. And it goes on to say that discrimination means direct or indirect differential treatment pursuant to sections 7 and 8 that is not lawful pursuant to sections 9, 10, and 11. And if you go down to section 9, this lawful differential treatment is examples that do work. You can treat people differently based on age if it meets these factors, saying differential treatment does not breach the prohibition in section 6 if it, A, has an objective purpose, B, is necessary to achieve the purpose, and does not have a disproportionate negative impact on the person or persons subject to the differential treatment. Now, I believe that what they're doing does not violate this law, because the only way you can even argue it is if you take it in the most literal of sense. Like, if this means that nobody outside of that age range, particularly over 30, is allowed to work with them, maybe you have a case, but it seems like this is their preference. Now, I think this is a very poorly worded and badly placed way of asking about their ages, and they would go on to explain themselves further and say that they are very flexible and that this is not limiting the age in a strict way, which is, you know, kind of ironic because it does look like they're limiting it here. Like, it's one of those things, if they have an idea of what they want in a age range, keep that to yourself. Don't post it on your application. It makes you look like you're seeking out only people in this 20 to 30 age range. Now, relating back to the law I just cited, there was kind of this like objective purpose language in there, which I thought was very relevant to the reason why I don't like this age requirement statement here. It has nothing to do, I don't care if they're breaking the law. The reason I don't like this and a lot of other people don't like this is because it shows that they don't know what they're talking about. It shows that they don't know much about VTubers if they think the prime age is 20 to 30, when there is hundreds of successful VTubers, both independent and even in agencies like Hololive, that are in their 30s. There's really no explanation for this preference other than they just don't really have a familiarity with the VTubing scene. And it's hardly surprising that a web browser wouldn't really understand that. And if I was someone applying to Opera GX for this VTuber mascot role, I would probably take that into consideration. I'm not saying applying is a bad idea. I think if you're interested in this, go for it. I think it could be a very fun thing, but keep in mind that this tells me that they really are not very familiar with some pretty common knowledge about VTubers. And at the end of the day, yes, you're applying to be a VTuber mascot. It's a voice acting role. You're given a model and a persona, and you have to voice it. This is simply voice acting. I don't really understand what age really has to do with anything. And again, it's just like, you don't want someone who's 75, some granny who doesn't understand how to log into her computer, but someone in their 30s can hang, you know, and put on entertaining VTubing activities. It's been proven time and time again. So that's my overall take on this. I don't think it's as serious as some people are making it, but that is my thoughts on this and how this age preference is kind of whack. And I also don't think that they're violating any sort of a law here. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, quite the transition. This is an insane story coming out of Dungeons and Dragons. You might have seen this being talked about on Twitter, bounding into comics, sharing this report here, saying that Dungeons and Dragons to remove half species from player's handbook claim the entire idea is inherently racist. Now, for those who don't know, we've talked about Dungeons and Dragons over the past couple of years, maybe a year or two, where Wizards of the Coast, the group that manages this company, has been slowly removing problematic themes from their player's handbook and the franchise as a whole, including removing things like monsters, because the monsters apparently remind others of colored people, which is insanely racist to see human beings represented in monsters. I don't see a black person when I look at a one-eyed, grotesque-looking monster from Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sorry, I don't see that. I think if you do see that connection, you're the problematic one here. But nonetheless, in their recent event, Wizards of the Coast gathered a bunch of their notable personalities, including the lead rules designer, a senior story designer, and a studio art director for a Q&A session with some attendees of their recent events. Now, something that is quite unbelievable here is some of these quotes down here, saying, "Our team are game designers and storytellers. We're not experts in culture and inclusion," he added, "so we're focused on what damage should this creature do. That's why everything goes through inclusion review. So everything in our game brings out delights. Even reprints are going through inclusion review. That's why some older books are going to change too." And yes, they're talking about some of the themes that are, I guess, not aging well. Well, according to them, because they're the only ones who see these problems, and a lot of the player base is completely tired of seeing these things. So we're getting to the discussion of half species characters. So one of the designers, Crawford, goes on and confirms that due to the game now having 4 elf variants for players to choose from when creating a character, the standard elves, high elves, wolf elves, and drow, the player's handbook would soon be revised to do away with half species. Frankly, we are not comfortable and haven't been for years with any of the options that start with half. He explained of this decision, the half construction is inherently racist, so we simply aren't going to include it in the new player's handbook. Yeah. They are basically saying that mixing the races of the characters is inherently racist. That is insane. That is absolutely, like, what is the play here? Discrimination? You think the way to combat racism is to discriminate and to keep people from mixing races? You might want to run that one again, Chief. That is not good look. I don't understand. This is absolutely insane. And obviously people were memeing on this left and right. Basically, like the Wizards of the Coast, when they see interracial marriage, they must try to ban it from their player book too. Like, it's crazy. There's no justification for this. It's just downright embarrassing. They're so progressive that they sound like bigots. And not even in like a real world sense. They're talking about fictional characters, half elves, half orcs. These things are inherently racist to you, that these fantasy characters are breeding within different races? Give me a break. But they go on to say if someone wants to play those character options, they can still be in Dungeons and Dragons Beyond, and they'll still be in the 2014 Player's Handbook. How generous. The bigots who are so pro interspecies relationships will still have a chance to enjoy their bigotry with the old models and old handbooks. Like, my God, Wizards of the Coast has fallen off so hard that, yeah, I don't blame anyone who wants to stop supporting this franchise, and it's been a long time coming. They keep shooting themselves in the foot, and it's embarrassing. That's really all there is to it. But we have one more story from Bounding Into Comics today. So the big trailer that released this week was the Blue Beetle film. It's a new superhero movie, and apparently the director of the film has been in some hot water for tweets. Now, normally when I see a director of a film like this in trouble for a tweet, you expect the tweet to be from like 2010, right? And even if it's the most like abhorrent thing, I generally am like, well, different time. Maybe the person changed. They likely did. It's been so long. But this is kind of funny. So people kind of had their eyebrow raised because in the trailer, I mean, it looks good for all intents and purposes. But at the end, there's a comment by George Lopez's character saying that Batman is a fascist. And it seems like a joke, and it's supposed to be a joke. But a lot of people were like, what are they driving at? Like, what kind of an agenda do they have here trying to paint Batman as a fascist? It seems like an odd joke for this type of a movie. Well, it turns out the director is in all kinds of trouble. So when people started criticizing that comment from the trailer, the director of Blue Beetle came out and made some controversial tweets. This first one, now deleted, says, "The only thing I hope Trump, the former president of the United States, has similar to Lincoln's presidency is the way it ended," which means he is hoping that Donald Trump is assassinated, which is not very nice. It is not very tolerant or nice to wish people to die. And again, you think, wow, it's been some time. Well, this was tweeted on April 4th. That's 2 days ago. This was tweeted 2 days ago. And of course, after the backlash rolled in after users pointed this out, the tweet was, of course, then deleted. But that wasn't the only tweet they made that was controversial. They also said down here, in replying to more criticism of their joke, he makes a reference to both Trump and Puerto Rico as well, saying, "You must be the dumbest piece of S to cross Twitter right after Trump. How stupid can you be? Puerto Rico is a slave colony of the USA. Your passport was imposed on us. So there is nowhere else to go after your country S's on my land and blame us for the stink. F you," to just random Twitter users. And of course, they would get into trouble right there. And yeah, not very professional behavior. Again, this one's from about 5 years ago, this one in particular, unlike the other one. But it just goes to show that this person is saying some of the most vile and divisive stuff while trying to act like progressive. At the end of the day, you're a director of a superhero film. Like, nobody wants to hear these hot takes and really threats too that make you look completely unhinged. Like, don't be mad at anyone else but yourself when this turns people off from seeing your film. And there's been a lot of controversy in superhero related movies, comics, and other things in Western media. And this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. And there's some more things to talk about that maybe we'll do in a future video. So speaking of some more hot topics around here, so Overwatch has been coming out with a new and bold set of activities here, saying that Blizzard is working on something for Pride Month in Overwatch 2. They won't be talking explicitly about their plans until the middle or end of May, but players have often requested more ways to represent themselves in-game, citing a Kotaku article, of course. But this is the little graphic here saying Blizzard are planning for Pride Month in Overwatch 2. And you can see the number of likes. Nearly 18,000 likes, over 1,000 quote retweets, which is, noticeable, of course. People are calling out the BS here. But the reason people are upset and also rolling their eyes at people celebrating and applauding this bold, brave move is that Blizzard is the last person to have any sort of a stance on these things without looking like a bunch of hypocrites. We all know the intense amount of sexual harassment and misconduct that took place in Activision Blizzard, or when it was formerly just Blizzard, and for them to come out with these things and people to forget all of that and immediately champion Blizzard as being so progressive for having this clearly virtue signaling type of an event to get people to support the game, even though this really has nothing to do with gameplay. It's just like a gimmick. It's pretty telling that people just instantly forget all the bad stuff Blizzard did. And honestly, from my personal standpoint, whenever I see Blizzard trying to do something like this, I get nervous because it makes me think, what damage control are they trying to prep for? What did they do this time? Because if in the past they had to do damage control for things like their employees stealing the breast milk of female employees, what did they do this time to start this off? And I would say, I trust their Blizzard's good intents with this event, which, by the way, celebrating Pride Month, I have no problem with. I think it's very good. I just think the irony of Blizzard doing it is funny. And I also wonder, and this will be very important to pay attention to, with many different other company accounts, when Pride Month rolls around, make sure we're checking all of Blizzard's related accounts, depending on their region. Will they have these same celebrations available and promoted in regions of the world where these are not treated the same as they would be in North America, for example? That is the true test of how actually committed someone like Blizzard is to celebrating something like Pride Month. And we'll have to just wait and see on that one. But based on my experience and what has happened in the past, I don't think that will happen. I think they will only celebrate and promote this in places like North America and Europe, and in other regions of the world completely ignore it and do so to prevent pissing off certain sections of their fan base and investors. But that is going to do it for this video. Yes, a whole lot of discrimination, and some of it legitimate concerns, some of it not, but nonetheless, some companies finding themselves in hot water, and you know what? I don't feel sorry for any of them. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Share all of your related thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time.